And our first team today, our first panel of speakers, I'm incredibly excited to welcome the team from HexClad on stage. So we have three veteran media buyers and that have built HexClad to over $500 million in sales profitably. So we're welcoming Jason Panzer, the president of HexClad, Daniel Vina, the CEO, and Connor Rolain, the head of growth. They will share with us how they leverage paid media to build HexClad to $500 million in sales profitably. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Well, Philippe, thank you for having us. For everyone, I'm Daniel Weiner. Everybody calls me Danny. As much as I try to sound professional, it never really happens. And I want to start off by saying I am probably the least qualified person on this call today. What I'm good at is surrounding myself with really smart people, which is why I'm next to these two guys. For those of you that don't know HexClad, we are an innovative cookware brand. We kind of went into the cookware space at the perfect time. We founded HexClad in 2016, my co-founder Cole McRae and I. And what we did was we found something that was innovative and game-changing. But what was different about it was we knew that this was not a product that could just sit and gather dust on a retail shelf. It was unique enough that it needed a story to be told. And we really looked for a strategy as how to be able to tell this story in a really digestible way to people. Which, when we looked at each other, we're like, well, we got to tell this online somehow. And we didn't know really what it looked like. We hadn't seen anybody sell a product like ours direct to the consumer by cutting out the middleman and trying to tell the story and the value props right to the general public. So we said in 2016, we want to be a D2C cookware brand, and that didn't exist at the time. In fact, there wasn't a lot of D2C companies that we could really follow as a model. We were kind of intrigued when Casper Mattress launched. Like, here's something that you always go to a store for. How are we going to convince people to purchase cookware the way they're purchasing these mattresses? And through trial and error, through 2017, we figured out a way to connect with people. And that's really what this is about. It doesn't matter if you're running a linear TV ad or you're buying paid social. It's about your messaging, right? You have to deliver this message and it has to be taken in by the consumer. And it was a lot of trials and tribulations till we figured out our messaging. And we didn't have a lot of money. Like, nobody believed in us. We could not raise any money. So essentially, Cole and I had to self-fund HexClad, and we did it. We worked out of my house. We worked out of his garage. We actually packed boxes ourselves at the beginning because we couldn't afford to have someone else do it. And with a couple of loyal early employees, we kind of figured out a D2C strategy, but we barely were scratching the surface. But as people were attracted to our product, talent was attracted to our company as well. And which is why, in 2020, though I'd known Jason for years, Jason didn't know D2C. He came from the banking world. He's got many, many letters after his name. But he's like, I'm going to learn this. And he's learning this probably about the same time Connor was getting done with university. So these guys are learning something brand new, and it's incredibly exciting. And I remember somebody telling me if it's 6 months old, it's like dead in this business. So watching the growth of our team and watching us learn how to press the right buttons and pull the right levers is incredibly exciting. It's, the ego goes, you kind of want to throw it in the face a little bit of all the people who didn't believe in you when you said like, hey, we're going to bring this product straight to the consumer. And they tell you you're crazy and nobody believes in you. And it's kind of nice to sit here and, you know, Jason and I had cocktails with Gordon Ramsay last week, and, you know, and Connor's just like showing me Shopify, and he's like, well, the 4th of July sale is live, and we're you know, happily looking at the early morning numbers. That's extraordinary. And, you know, and I'm smart enough to add value where I add value, and smart enough to let highly talented individuals take chances and create strategies and refine tactics to make HexClad successful. So for me, the fact that Jason and I just toasted our $500 million in sales last week with the biggest chef in the world was quite exciting and a very proud moment for us. And the good thing is at HexClad, we're quite humble, and we had our company happy hour last night, and people will call you out on your bullshit, and we will hold each other to a very, very high standard. And people, and the good thing is, as a CEO, and Jason as the president, we don't have to really point a lot of fingers at people, because fellow employees are doing that for us, because we're all expecting each other to deliver to the standard that we're setting for ourselves. So I think that's important to be successful, because right now we're in a space that's kind of had a bit of a bloodbath. We see how many public D2C companies have struggled lately. Personally, I believe that this is maybe a reset. You know, I think we're an anomaly because we have such an extraordinary product in such a attractive space, right? You know, after puppies, I think people stop on food content second.
Cats too.
Oh, cats, that's true. Small animals and food porn, right? So with that, you know, I'm not going to pretend like I'm going to give you the secret sauce today. In fact, I don't want them to give you the actual secret sauce. I want them, though, to motivate everyone. I want them to set examples and overall strategies, how everybody on this call can be successful. You know, really, Jason will give you a far more better strategic overview, and then we're going to let Connor really take a deep dive into this. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank all the sponsors for having HexClad. We're grateful the way we've been embraced by the community in the US and now globally. And we're excited for the opportunity to give back and share some of our learnings of the past 6 years. So thank you everyone for having us. We're excited to participate.
Always hard to follow Danny, but I will do my best. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what a good media buyer looks like, and then a bit about how we do things at HexClad. As a former investment banker, I learned that being good at my investment banking job was about sales and marketing and execution, and it was really about sales and marketing and understanding the numbers. And that's very much what the media buyer, how I see the media buyer role now. And you know, I have just a tremendous amount of respect for people that are in ad accounts pulling levers. I think it's a really, I just think it's an incredible experience. I think when you manage that much budget, in the right media buyers manage large budgets. We've spent 11 million on paid media so far this year, not including creative, not including agencies. You know, it's really, really meaningful and really moves the needle. And performance marketers in general, I think, and I didn't make this up, but someone said it recently, are the future CMOs, right? Connor standing next to me, the reason why he joined us as head of growth, because we saw that he had the toolkit of really understanding creative and really understanding the numbers. And, you know, one of the nice things about media buying today it's a kind of a blessing and a curse, is that there's a lot of data, right? And it's great to be able to make decisions based on data. But there's so much data, it's really hard to suss out. And more importantly, I think the biggest issue that I see with media buyers is that they don't ask the question why. They look at the data and they just say, okay, this is what the data says, and they make decisions. And I think there needs to be a lot more of the why. And so where does the why come from? It's really hard, you know. It comes, but you have to have good instincts, good critical thinking skills. That's another thing that I feel is lacking out there is critical thinking skills. But you know, the best media buyers, they really understand the creative and they really can get behind the numbers. We spend across like basically every channel now. We're a top 50 meta spender. We spend on TikTok. We spend on linear and streaming. We have, you know, Google has been and YouTube have been areas of growth and additional success for us this year. And what we're seeing in 2023, like Danny said, is like we're kind of bucking. There's some headwinds out there, and we've seen ourselves bucking the trend. Thankfully, we're very grateful for this. It's this combination of having a good product and then the right team to execute on the plan and asking all those questions. And so one of the things that people keep asking us is, why is your CAC down this year? What's happening? And I think there were two things that have happened that for us, and one is building that, like Danny said, finally getting our value propositions right last year have really built a lot for us. It's what you may think you know the business's value propositions, but you know, do you really know them? Like it's something to really drill hard in and on. That's been a really game changer for us. For us, is just time in the game, time in the market. You know, Danny had the insight to want to be a D2C cookware business, and we've been doing this now, you know, 6-ish years. And so what we're seeing is the brand flywheel at work due to time in the market, due to all the spend that we put in over all these years. And so there is a bit of a war of attrition out there, and the media buyer is really like on the front lines, like the infantry first lieutenant of this world. And I just want to say that I have a tremendous amount of respect for what you all do. And the last thing I want to say is, you know, for us, we've been with Northbeam, and the platform and the team there have been, you know, absolutely essential to our success. It's what you want in a technology partner, not just in delivering good results, and not just in delivering good software, but like getting on the phone with us, helping us. Some of the insights that I think Connor might raise to you are things that, you know, they really came out of conversations with Northbeam, and that's what we really appreciate. And I think everybody out there who's with a SaaS or an agency should think about, you know, it's really about going the extra mile for customers. It will pay you back. I have this concept of creating a favor bank. Yeah, do 10 favors for everyone you ask for, and that's how we all operate here. And that's how you know, I think that's really paid tremendous dividends in the success of HexClad last year and this year. So with that, thanks. I'm going to turn it over to Connor, our head of growth.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So I guess there's three things that we really look at as our North Star when it comes to paid media. Like, should we scale up? Should we scale down? Are things working? Are things not working? The first one, I think every business should have this dialed in before they ever spend a dollar on paid media. And it's blended business goals. Like, what are you shooting for? What are your North Stars that you're optimizing towards? And having those, not, you know, we operate off of an MER and a CAC goal. But it doesn't stop there. Ultimately, those MER goals and those CAC goals are rooted in an EBITDA margin. And for myself, on like a day-to-day and monthly basis, they're rooted in a contribution margin. I come from an agency world where getting these answers from a lot of brands that we worked with was very hard. You would ask them, hey, what's the MER goal we should go for? What's the CAC goal we should be shooting for? And the answer was often based in, maybe some research with some colleague or connections in the industry based on what they're shooting for, not necessarily based on a contribution margin. So I think before you ever spend an ad dollar, it's really hard to know if you're doing well or if you're doing poorly if you don't have those goals super dialed in. So I think simple calculators, like what's your order value, subtract the COGS, subtract processing fees, shipping fees, anything that you can directly relate to a fee for that order, and dial in a CAC number and dial in an MER goal based on that. I mean, that's been really important for us, and that's what we track on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. That's one of the first things we focused on, was building out a contribution margin calculator. So every single day, at the end of the day, I can go in and see exactly, it's not the same as EBITDA, but I can see related to D2C, our D2C business, how much money did we actually make today? Not just how much top line revenue did we do, and what was our CAC, and what was our MER. And then the other way we use contribution margin is both prior to a month and during the month. We create these flow charts that says on the x-axis we have revenue, on the y-axis we have MER. And what you'll notice is it's really interesting to look and say, are we better off doing $1 million at a 10x MER, or are we better off doing 750,000 at a 8x MER? And what you'll find is these interesting inflection points where it's super insightful to be able to inform your top line and MER goals based on flow charts like that. So I think that's first and foremost, is you're always going to have a really difficult time making decisions if those goals aren't super black and white. So I think dialing that in first and foremost. We also use the same approach for offers. That's something we've been focusing on a lot more this year, is how can we put different offers out there that are going to appeal to different types of consumers. Someone that comes in through us pushing our 13-piece set is totally different than someone that comes in through an offer that's pushing a 3-quart pot and 12-inch pan. And at the end of the day, we want both types of buyers, right? So how do you understand if those are working or not? Blended metrics. It's simple. I don't want to make. You're never going to know how profitable an offer is just off of using, Facebook or any attribution tools reported metrics. So when we're running new offers, it's looking at blended metrics. It's how much did we spend on that offer divided by the number of orders, first-time orders on that offer, to back into a CAC, and it's top-line revenue from that product that we're pushing divided by total ad spend into that offer to get a blended MER on that offer. And again, we're ultimately boiling that down to a contribution margin, and that's what informs whether we push a certain offer, scale it, kill it. We've tried a lot of our innovative products, our new products in paid media this year, and that's exactly how we look at it and decide if this is going to be a product we try to acquire customers with, or if it's going to be a product that we use our own media and other channels to increase LTV with. So I think that's piece number one for every single business. And I think the bigger you get and the more revenue you start doing, I think the harder it is to back in and figure those goals out. So I always recommend starting there before you ever spend $1 on paid media. Related to that is in-platform goals. So once you have super crystal clear blended goals, the question becomes, how do you connect those to an in-platform goal? If you're shooting for a 2x MER or a $30 CAC, well, what does that mean for you in terms of where you need to be in Facebook or TikTok or YouTube? So something that we've done in the last, this year really, is we've created these multipliers. So we work with Northbeam, and we create these multipliers that ingest all of our historical data. And then we can go in and say, hey, based on the last 3 months, 4 months, whatever time period we want, look at the historical data and tell me what I need to be at on a 30-day click and a 1-day click in order to hit, any goal that we input. It could be 2x, 5x, 10x, it doesn't matter, which is important because we do have different goals every single month. So that lets us know right there at a glance, hey, at this blended MER goal or this blended CAC goal, here's exactly where we need to be in Facebook and all these channels. And it ultimately is creating a relationship between your in-platform goals, your blended goals and your bottom line profit, whether that's EBITDA or contribution margin. So I think that's super important. I think one of the frustrating things I have is when a media buyer or an agency or whatever will come into an account and say, wow, this one day click ROAS is really bad. Like it could be way better. This CAC's really bad or really good. It could be way better, or it's incredible. Where in reality, you could run at certain brands can run at a 0.4x one day click in Facebook ads, and that could be backing into your blended goals and be leading to big profits for the business, right? So all the in-platform metrics in terms of performance metrics, whether it's CAC, whether it's return on ad spend, that's all relative to each business. Again, some businesses need to be at a 1.5, some need to be at a 0.5. But unless you have those benchmarks to say, hey, this is going to back into our overall business goals, I think you're going to have a really difficult time optimizing your paid media channels effectively. So I think that's piece number 2. And the third kind of pillar to this triangle is attribution. So what informs your media mix and understanding of a channel as a whole, and then how do you optimize intra-channel? So for us, this is actually a huge pain point for us as we headed into this year, because we are very unique from most e-commerce brands in the sense that we have a higher average order value and we have a longer consideration period. And I think what we found is that the longer your consideration period is, the more time you have to spend sort of triangulating data and using a lot of multitude of data sources to inform which channels you scale up, which channels you don't scale up, which ones you kill, keep running, etc. So I think there's 2 main questions to ask yourself. So first is, are you running channels that don't garner clicks the way that other channels do? So for us, that's YouTube, that's TikTok, that's connected and linear TV, versus like a Facebook or a Google, where a lot of these are going to garner that click and drive a purchase right after. So I think that's the first thing to consider, because if you're running a lot of YouTube or TikTok or CTV, the click data is never going to look as good as a Facebook or a Google. So if you are only looking at, one day click data, or even a longer click window, but one day view, you're still probably not going to get the insights that you need to say, hey, YouTube's actually working a lot better than this Northbeam one day click data is telling us it is. So the second question is consideration period. So the longer your consideration period, the more these purchases are going to happen outside of these media channels attribution windows. So for us, where we do have a very long consideration period, we put a lot more value in the post-purchase survey data that we run. So 2 questions we ask people are, A, where did you first hear about us? That's the very first question we ask. And B, what brought you to our site today? So the first question is getting at first touch discovery. The last question is getting at, last touch, last click data. And for us, that's super important. So what we found is that if you look at our one day click data, Facebook we would scale Facebook to the moon. We would turn off, and we do that. We spend the most on Facebook, but if we didn't look at other ways of understanding attribution and channel mix, we would not be spending what we're spending on TikTok or YouTube or connected and linear TV. We really found that what we actually found is that Facebook had the best CPA for all our paid media channels that are paid social or in a similar stage in the funnel based on the click data. And YouTube and TikTok actually had the worst. But then when you look at the post-purchase survey data, it was completely inverse. So YouTube and TikTok had the best CPA based on that. So that's kind of what I mean by triangulating the data and understanding attribution that way. It's super important. And then we're also using Northbeam's MMM tool to sort of, check on our work that we're doing with our media mix. We use the click data and the post-purchase survey to inform the media mix and what we put into each channel. And now we've recently rolled out this MMM tool to really, cross-reference and make sure that our media mix is what it should be. And then using like some holdout tools as well to really, triple check and say, hey, what happens if we keep YouTube spend the same in these markets, we double it in these markets and triple it in these markets? How incremental is that? That's going to have huge impacts on how much we decide to spend or not to spend in certain channels. Had some more, but I think we're at time. It looks like.
That's awesome, Jason, Danielle. Thank you so much for the insights. But Connor, you're sealing the show here, and I think you prompted like 50 questions in the chat. So we're gonna rapid fire a couple of questions, guys. Like if you can just jump in. and like a couple of words on them, that'd be great because we have a lot, and I'll try to cover a few. But I mean, the first one, obviously, that I appreciate is how do you measure multi-channel impact and like their performance against one another? I think like you brought up Northbeam a little bit, so like is that mostly right now how you're doing it, or like the survey plays a part as well?
Yeah, I think it's all about how you model it, and like you got to compare. If a channel's at a similar stage in the funnel, you need to figure out a way to model it similarly. So like we're never going to go, like I'm not going to compare Facebook to YouTube with one day click, because Facebook's always going to look better, but there are different stages of the funnel and they have completely different activities. Like I never click on a YouTube ad. That doesn't mean I haven't discovered a brand and bought from YouTube ad, but it's like I never click on an ad. So I think it's all like now, whereas maybe Facebook and Twitter, we see a little bit more similar patterns in terms of, click data. So I personally, I do use click data for channels that are in similar stages in the funnel. But I think post-purchase survey, it's probably the best way for us at least, and we have a high volume. So, we get a lot of responses to that post-purchase survey data, but I think that's a really effective way to understand like the overall CPA from a discovery standpoint. That's where we've leaned at least, but ultimately it's like you're triangulating data. You're looking at click data, you're looking at post-purchase survey data. You're asking your customers which channels they spend their time on. So it's not really using any single source of truth as much as it is, trying to connect the dots between two or three of them.
So Vivian asked, how did you connect with the celebrity chef? So how did this partnership happen?
You want to take that?
This partnership right here.
He's talking about Gordon.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
hear
Gordon.
that. Oh, okay.
How
I'm
do you
sorry.
guys know this?
Okay. You know what? These are like one of those like you pinch yourself moments. As we're really building out our social media messaging, and spending more time to it, we noticed that Gordon Ramsay was following us. We noticed a Gordon Gram on Instagram. So we're like, screw it. You know what? Let's reach out. So Sean, who was handling our social at the time, he sent a DM like, hey, would you like some pans? And somebody responded, I think Gordon has a pan and he really likes it. By the way, does Gordon have a cookware partnership? I don't know. We'll get back to you. And next thing you know, I'm on the call with Gordon's business manager like a few days later. I had a couple of calls with them and it got serious quickly. So I'm like, he's a lawyer. Jason's also a former lawyer. So I'm like, let's start lawyering this up a bit. And then, maybe a month later, Jason and I jump on a Zoom call and we log on and there's like Gordon Ramsay's giant face, on the screen. And he's like, Denny. And I'm like, Gordon. And we just, it was a great, like, there was this synergistic feel to the call. Like, it just made sense. And Gordon's like, I'm going to do this and this. And I love the brand. And I'm going to put you in my restaurants. I'm going to put you on my TV shows.
Wow.
Because when you get me, you get more than you bargained for. And we were like, and I'll tell you what, that is true. Not always in the best way, but it's true. And from that point on, Gordon's like, I want to be part of the company. And he's been an amazing partner for us.
That's awesome. I mean, so the moral of the story is monitor who follows you. And then if you see a famous name, just reach out. And maybe one last quick one. So how do you, where do you guys send most of your traffic? Do you send it to landing pages, to product pages, like collections? How are you distributing that? What do you see is working well right now?
Most of it's to landing pages. If you look at, but that's not to say our product page destinations don't work very well. Actually, if you look year to date at our top spending landing page and our top spending product page, which are a 13-piece set, they're actually roughly about the same one-day click ROAS. Now, granted, we've probably spent a 3 to 4x on that landing page compared to the product page, and most people here know as you increase spend and increase traffic, the quality of that traffic degrades. So I think there's an argument to be made that if spends were equal, that the landing page would outperform the product page. But most of our traffic, most of our spend does go towards landing pages, but we still do a good amount of traffic direct to our product pages. That's also a function of kind of how our Facebook ad account is developed now, though. You know, with our spend levels, it's becoming a lot more middle of funnel remarketing channel for us. So often sending someone that's seen your product a handful of times and has visited your landing pages a handful of times right to a product page is actually the best experience. But yeah, I mean, we use both, and we're constantly, you know, rolling out both net new landing pages and iterative landing pages as well. And we also use landers in a variety of ways outside of just paid acquisition. I think there's a lot of heat and spotlight on them on Twitter about, you know, paid acquisition landing pages, but I think there's another, you know, 5 to 10 ways you can use them, whether it's for influencers or new product drops or like teaser funnels. We're using landing pages in a variety of ways.
That's awesome. Connor, I don't know if you have more time, but if you could just jump in the chat and maybe post a couple of comments on everybody's question, that'd be incredibly appreciated by the community. And gentlemen, thank you so much this morning for your time. We really appreciate it. The chat was on fire, so I think people really like your talk as well. And keep doing great stuff. We appreciate you.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it.
Have a great day.